My name is Stephanie Nash. I'm a fourth-generation dairy farmer. I believe in Jesus. I believed in Charlie Kirk. I believed that our voices were being heard. 10 years ago, if you would have asked me that I was going to be on national news and speaking at events advocating for agriculture, I would have thought you were crazy.
Hey, Nebraska, you need a tissue for your issues?
I have been made fun of.
Save the drama for your mama.
The reason I started my advocacy in agriculture is because our farmers and ranchers are dying. We are allowing land to be sold to foreign countries. We are allowing more imports to come into our country and big organizations to be selling to consumers at an outrageous price. We are allowing our farmers to go bankrupt. We are allowing our land and water resources to be taken up by housing developments. We are allowing it all because we cannot stand up and be strong for our country. Ag committees across the state have been silent about what is happening in the agriculture industry. And that is why I started my advocacy, because even though you might not like me and what I have to say, I have a passion for the future farmers and ranchers of America. I believe that our next generation needs a chance to be able to buy land, produce food, and be able to be strong for our agriculture industry. We need to keep food here in America. We need to support real milk, meat, poultry, pork, all of it.
The number of American farmers struggling to stay afloat is on the rise. Family farm bankruptcies last year were up 55% from 2023. And the main culprit for this trend, higher costs.
Fertilizer, fungicides, pesticides, seed, all the other things that go into commodities farming, those prices are at an all-time high. And then the price of the commodities themselves are at an all-time low.
I have a question for the rest of America. Does anyone even care about Nebraska? Does anyone even care?
I do not care about Nebraska going bankrupt in 6 months. I do not care.
Will Westmoreland is a farmer and the executive director of the Back 40, an organization that advocates for the revitalization of rural America. The cost of borrowing is another expense that has also increased. The number of farms at risk of defaulting on their loans are at their highest levels since 2020. This as banks are reporting a surge of non-real estate farm loans this year compared to last, while repayment rates are dropping.
A lot of farmers that have already spent through their operating capital to pay for these higher input costs, and there's no confidence they're going to be able to pay these loans at the end of the year.
A lot of farmers are running on very tight margins.
Josh Baeke is a policy editor for Farm Progress, which provides agricultural news, data, and resources to American farmers and ranchers. He says since family farms already run on tight margins, they are struggling to adjust to these increased expenses.
So any hiccup, any type of bad year, and a lot of these small farmers are facing, bankruptcy, financial ruin.
Now, in the midst of these rising bankruptcies, almost $66 billion in agricultural aid is on its way after the passing of President Trump's Big Beautiful Bill. The majority of that money will be invested in crop insurance and increasing payouts for some commodity programs to help farmers make up the difference if their profits fall below a certain average. So, could this slow the trend of family farmers' bankruptcy filings?
$66 billion is very welcome. That will help. But these other economic factors are still going against them. And while the support in the Big Beautiful Bill is welcome, that doesn't necessarily address those longer term issues.
Two major issues central to President Trump's policy agenda are pushing up these farmers' expenses, tariffs and immigration. The president's tariffs have caused disruption in the ag industry before. President Trump launched a trade war with China in his first term. That decreased demand for American-grown products. Soon after, family farm bankruptcy filings reached a decade high in 2019. In response, the federal government paid out record levels of subsidies to farmers. Now, in his second term, there is some uncertainty about how new tariffs will shape the agricultural industry.
In the ag sector, our input costs are so large and it's such a huge part. Raising those costs can be really harmful. I'm not optimistic that these tariffs are a good thing for the agricultural sector.
Todd Keithy is a professor of agricultural economics at Purdue University. While Keithy isn't confident these tariffs will benefit the agricultural economy, especially in the short term, he says farmers do believe it will help them in the long run.
And in my conversations with farmers, I think there's a lot that say like, oh, this will be bad for us in the short run. But they feel that sort of the global economic system needs shaking up. We got to do what we can to gut this one. It might hurt us in the short run, but we got to build up a new sort of set of trade relationships.
Keithy also says these farmers are hopeful the federal government will pay subsidies out to make up the short-term losses. While most farmers are optimistic these tariffs will benefit them, Westmoreland is worried tariffs will reduce demand for American-grown products. We are seeing this already play out with soybean exports. China bought about half of all soybean exports from U.S. farmers in the 2023-2024 commodity marketing year. Now, China has yet to put in a pre-order of U.S. soybeans as the harvesting season begins.
We don't just feed the United States, we feed the world. So farmers have always very heavily relied on the international sales presence to keep things driving from a financial perspective in rural America.
Tariffs and trade battles may reshape the global demand for U.S. farm goods, but the president's nationwide crackdown on immigration threatens to drive up production costs as well.
The president has been unequivocal that there will be no amnesty, and I think that's very, very important. I and the rest of our cabinet certainly support that, effectuate that, and make sure that happens every single day.
There are more than 2.6 million people working on farms across the U.S. A USDA study found that over 2/3 of crop workers are foreign-born. This same study found that 42% of crop workers do not have proper work authorization, but collecting reliable data for the industry as a whole is challenging.
There's generally a shortage of farm labor, which is the reason why you have a lot of these undocumented workers working on American farms. The administration contends that there are enough workers, native-born workers, to take their place. But I think most people in agriculture just think that's not a realistic expectation to have people with, no experience in agriculture, take these jobs for very low pay.
And Westmoreland says a way to help reduce the amount of undocumented migrants in the agricultural industry would be to address challenges with the H-2A visa. This is the main program farmers use to bring workers into the country.
If your choice as a farmer and a worker is, I'm not going to harvest my crops and make a profit, or as a worker, I'm not going to be able to get a job, you just work around that system, and that's led to undocumented immigration. I really believe that this is a direct result of having people in control of agricultural policy that just don't understand agriculture.
With so many new challenges facing U.S. agriculture, smaller family farms may continue to fail at higher rates. However, Keithy says farm bankruptcies are relatively rare compared to the size of the overall industry. There are more than 1.8 million farms in America, 96% of which are classified as family farms.
The numbers have gone up, correct, but the number that we're dividing by is a very big number. Sometimes those percentage increases will be really high, but the actual number of impacted people will be pretty small.
Nebraska is supposed to go bankrupt in 6 months. Supposedly I'm on that side of TikTok. So to that side of TikTok that knows bankruptcy is coming, why did you vote that way? I have to ask, why did you vote against your own farm? Because I voted to save your farm, but you knew voting would take away your own farm workers. So I have to know your own thought process, because bankruptcy's coming, girl. Let us know. Because I don't have really much sympathy or empathy to give you left. Like, the election's over, babe. Now the consequences of your actions, FAFO, is happening in real time. Thank you.
Maybe y'all saw the news out of Nebraska today. Our state has, in fact, gone bankrupt. Due to his tariffs and the loss of all of our migrant farm workers, our state has lost over $500 million. It's so bad that Governor Pillen had to call and ask him for a bailout, and we don't know if he's going to give it to us. My husband and I did used to own a farm here in Nebraska, and thanks to the loss of all the workers, we went bankrupt, and bankruptcies in our state overall are at a record high right now. It's still just so weird to me because we all voted red. Nebraska, every county, every district overwhelmingly voted red. And that seems to have been the reason that we're all out of business now. And that just doesn't make that much sense to me. If you vote for a party, shouldn't they protect you? Shouldn't they pass policies that will help you stay out of bankruptcy? And I mean, it's not just the farms, but the whole state is going under because we voted red. When you're a farming family like mine, I can see now that it is important to think before you vote.
What happened, Nebraska? Did voting for Trump ruin your economy? Oh, that's weird. That's so weird. It's kind of like we told you so, right? Oh, I love this. I like to stick it in your face and rub it in. It's kind of like, when Trump was telling everybody he was going to come after the undocumented people in this country that were working hard and deport them, that they would kind of move to a state they felt safe in. And apparently, Nebraska wasn't one of them. They packed up their stuff and they headed on out to a state that would welcome them with open arms. So now you're going bankrupt. And as somebody that lives in a blue state, I could give a shit less. Boo-hoo. Oh, and I can't wait for the hated comments. I can't wait for it. You voted for this. You voted for this. And now you're getting it. So why are you mad at us? We didn't vote for this. Nope. We voted completely against this. You voted for this. I better not get one BS comment. Not one. Not one. Oh, how mean you are. The stink. You're so mean. Shut up. Shut up. I'm not mean. I'm just giving you what you wanted. You wanted this. You voted for it. You made your bed. Now lay in it. Have a day.
So maybe this is another unpopular opinion, but I feel like you should have to live with the repercussions of your vote. And if you don't want to live with the repercussions of your vote, maybe you should actually vote a different way. But if you do vote that way, then you should have to live with that repercussion of your vote. And if it causes you to go bankrupt and for you to lose everything, then so be it. That is on you. So I hope going forward that you've learned from this and that you will vote a different way and vote for something that actually is for your best interest. Most likely you probably won't. I guess we'll see.
I'm seeing some really dreadful, hateful posts on TikTok already. And I'll ask everybody, take the temperature down. We're all Americans. We're all looking to have a better life. Are you trying to be helpful or hurtful? Think about the consequences of your words, because words have semantic meaning. They have impact. Words used properly perhaps have the greatest impact in this life. And are you trying to be helpful or hurtful? Think about the impact you're really trying to make, and everybody be safe. Thanks. Talk soon.
I do not care. Maybe a few other of those red states should go bankrupt in 6 months so the blue states can swoop in to save them, so they can understand that we are not the bad ones. We are not the poor ones. We are not the ones who cannot survive under the orange turds' crazy policies. But you know why I don't feel bad for Nebraska? You know why? Because I believe I heard 65% of their workforce is undocumented people, which means they're not coming to work anymore, which means work's not happening, which means all the farmers in Nebraska are going to go bankrupt because they all went out there and voted against their neighbors. 65% of neighbors who are immigrants, okay? Fuck around and find out at this point. You know what I mean? And of course, I do feel bad for those blue people in Nebraska who did not vote for this. So unfortunate. That's what you get for being racist and not wanting immigrants in this country, even though they're paying taxes and contributing. So
So, apparently, Nebraska is going out of business soon, within the next 1 to 2 quarters. Why? Well, farmers to be exact, or farms. They can't seem to find anyone to work their fields. Nebraska, I wonder why that is. Could it be the racist rapist that you voted for that literally told you he was going to deport about 80% of your workforce, but you voted for him anyway because you wanted your bragging rights? That's right, you wanted to own those libs. Well, congratulations, Nebraska. You won your bragging rights, but now you lost your livelihood, and I have 0 fucks to give to you.
I hear Nebraska's not too happy, and that a lot of them are facing bankruptcy after they can't find people to work. A lot of people aren't coming to work right now, worried that they're going to get picked up by ICE. And there was even one family that said they had a 300-year-old ranch that they may lose. And I said, 300 years old ranch? That had been 1725. I wonder what the Native Americans thought about that one. But I don't know, Nebraska. Maybe they'll give you some of the money from Illinois that he kept. I'm not sure. I mean, y'all voted for him. So maybe he'll give you all that money. All right, Nebraska, I hope things work out for you, and I hope your state don't go bankrupt. I hope not. Or get out there and get working. The unemployment office, though, that's where you go if people need jobs. Just go to the unemployment office and tell them you're looking for workers. And I'm sure they'd be able to get something figured out for you over there. But, yeah, good luck, Nebraska. I hope everyone does well. Bye.
Have y'all seen that lady from Nebraska? Don't worry. I'm going to put it down here. She was one of the ones who came out and said, we voted for this and we regret it. She's one of the ones that's actually remorseful, not one of the ones that's coming on here going, yes, I asked for this, but please don't tell me how it's my fault that my consequences are affecting me and not just the people I hate now. I don't want to hear it. Okay. Not that we don't care about them, but this one, they're cattle farmers, and I guess Nebraska's on track to go bankrupt in 2 quarters. Okay. And the most interesting part of the piece that she put up, and I'm not saying this to throw shade, I'm saying it to emphasize what's up. Okay. She says, we knew that they were going to be coming for the undocumented. And here, almost everyone's a farmer of some kind, and 70% of our workforce is immigrant labor. And while we knew they were going to be coming for the undocumented, and we knew 70% of our workforce was going to fall into that category, we still supported this. And now thinking about it, I'm going to say it one more time, and now thinking about it, they realize it didn't make sense to support something that went against their own interests and to put their support in something that is now feeding their own demise. And I appreciate her for coming on here and giving these updates and just saying, with each time, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. In retrospect, I can't believe I did that. In looking back, this made no sense. I did it anyway, knowing it didn't make sense. I appreciate her for that. Because we've got too many that are just incapable of doing that. Just incapable of saying, wow, yeah, I convinced myself to go against my own interests. Why did I do that? That is work. That's self-work. Okay. And that's what we have room for. We have room for people that are wow, I now want to look into why I convinced myself to do something that was not going to help me. Why did I do that? We need more of that. And less people going, yeah, well, I'm just going to hold on to my hate and rage and anger, and I'm going to blame everyone else. And you know what? Yeah, I'm going to fight to keep my job. I'm getting a lawyer. Okay, I'm fighting this. I don't care if I asked for it. This isn't fair to me. It's not supposed to affect me. What about me and me and me? We don't care about them. Like I said, they can go fend for themselves. They can go fund themselves. But yeah, it's very interesting. So these states that are already on track to go bankrupt just with the policies themselves, okay? Because she's people aren't showing up to work. Whole thing, okay? And then blue states, you know, these cesspool states that are providing all the federal taxes, you know, people who live in states like Oklahoma who can't afford a plane ticket out here for the weekend love to talk about how this place is a cesspool, but they need our money to survive and to support themselves. Yeah, I am all for all of these blue states holding on to their money. I'm not interested in paying this regime. I'm interested in California independence or joining Canada or almost any other country but this one. And I would love to see how states like Nebraska plan on funding themselves when we aren't the ones putting into the pot anymore. We're going to keep our dirty little blue cesspool dollars to ourselves. How about that? How about that? Like, go ahead. Give it a watch. Give it a watch. I give her props. And keep it rolling. Because that's an area, that's a state where the administration is trying to tell you that we're traveling out there to their town halls. Okay? She's in one of the states where they're trying to tell you that it's us that are upset at the town halls. We're traveling out to cow country and removing our dreads and our blue hair to go make red legislators look bad. That's what we're doing. They wish they lived in our heads that much. They wish they lived in our heads that much.
I love when comments accuse me of not researching and reading. Lady, that's all I fucking do. That's all I do. All day, in between clients, is research and read. Period. And the reason these farmers are losing their farms is because they planted crops that no longer have anywhere to go. They can't be exported because countries, because of the tariffs, have made deals with other countries and don't need the United States' agriculture anymore. Period. If they can make a deal with another country and not pay all these astronomical tariffs, then they're not gonna. They're not gonna. Those are the facts. So maybe try doing your research.
Oh, soybean farmers in America are finding out. Donald Trump recently asked China to quadruple their purchasing of American soybeans. Donald, since the initial trade war you started, China started buying all their soybeans from Brazil and Argentina. All thanks to you. And now with their inputs going up and their exports going down, the American farmer can't survive. With small farm bankruptcies being at a 5-year high since the last Trump administration, nationwide farmers voted for Donald Trump at almost an 80% clip. Because even though Donald Trump ruined them last go around, he gave out the welfare queens their farmer subsidy that they needed. You know, welfare for me, the farmer, but not for thee, the citizen in America. With no talk of a subsidy on the horizon, their immigrant labor gone, the farmer having to pay more for the fertilizer they import and then the farming equipment they get from other countries. And now those other countries not buying their grain, their wheat, their soybean because of Donald Trump's tariffs that have made reciprocal ones in the countries that they're selling their agriculture to. And don't worry, farmers. I mean, these private equity firms can't wait to own your farm at the rock bottom prices they're going to be able to buy them for. I wonder if Blackstone will just incorporate the entire state of Nebraska. Your racism got you. Your hatred towards a system that does nothing but help you out and deliver for you in every way. But you wanted to take that away from other people, didn't you, farmers? You want everybody else to pull themselves up by your bootstraps, while the government makes you a welfare queen year after year. And the farmers are finding out.
Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about what's going on with the tariffs and what's going on with the state of Nebraska, which I am from. Okay, I'm noticing a trend right now of a lot of things. When people talk about Nebraska, some people are saying that their stuff is getting removed, it's getting banned, it's whatever. Okay, but I want to talk about something. First thing I want to talk about is, yeah, Nebraska is going to go bankrupt in about 6 months. Nebraska, the state that relies on their agriculture to sustain the way of living. Okay? Nebraska. There's a lot of farmland in Nebraska. And Nebraska has been notoriously Republican for quite a long time. There's only subsets of cities that ever really vote Democratic or anything like that, like in Omaha, and so forth. But the Nebraska, the place that relies on their agriculture for any type of profit, is going bankrupt. One of our senators, Pete Ricketts, is kissing boots right now to the Trump administration as we are heading towards bankruptcy in about 6 months. I'm sure you have heard people talk about it, but I want to make it clear that right now, even though my state is on the decline and we have 6 months before we file bankruptcy, I don't want to hear a single one of y'all getting on this app right now trying to monetize off you regretting your vote. I don't want to hear it because your racism, one, you, somebody who owns farmland, who relies on migrant workers to do all of these jobs because you know you don't want to hire an American because, as you stated multiple times, that we're lazy, slow, and we want too much money. The same people who rely on migrant workers turned around and voted against their best interests, and now you have ICE doing sweeps and shit over here on a regular. And you're running around complaining. Now you're going to town halls. You're screaming. You're yelling. You're crying. You're fussing. For what? For something that you did? This is not the F around and find out anymore. Okay? What happens every time when it comes to Republicans is y'all constantly vote against your best interests and then want people who have socialist ideals and mindsets to come in and fix it so you can benefit and then turn around and complain.
In this latest edition of Fuck Around and Find Out, Nebraska, the state of Nebraska, going bankrupt. Nebraska farmers going bankrupt because of Trump's tariffs. They all love to vote for Trump out in Nebraska. Not all, but big majority of them. And look at now. Look what's happening to Nebraska. Going broke because of Trump. Never learn. Some people never learn. The one thing they never learn is that it is immigrants that make America great. Not Trump. He makes America shit. Immigrants.
So, hearing that the state of Nebraska is filing for bankruptcy and they are trying to get help from Trump and they're not even sure that he's going to give it to them is really telling. And then hearing that Montana's farmers are having to file for bankruptcy is very interesting when these are things that were predicted a while ago. But yet instead, y'all voted red because a lot of people believed he was for the farmers. He was for bringing the jobs back. He was for doing all this. And the numbers are not showing it in your pockets, on the polls, on the stats, the statistics, the everything. And this is just the beginning. Like, it's going to get worse, unfortunately, if we continue to let them keep passing these crazy, bogus laws and just keep doing what they're doing. But yeah.
How's it going, everyone? Moderate Republican with news out of Nebraska. If you haven't seen it on TikTok, there's a few creators out there are saying that Nebraska is real close to filing bankruptcy. But the fact is, this Republican is going to shoot it to you straight. Nebraska is not in any danger whatsoever of going bankrupt. It looks like some creators on the left wants to try to spin a narrative that is falsely inaccurate. And yes, here's the breakdown. What they're referring to is the forecasted budget for FY 26-27. That is going into next year, into 2027. And that is a $400 million shortfall. Now, under the Nebraska Constitution, they are required by the Constitution to have a balanced budget. But they do have some safety nets in play that these creators didn't tell you about. That is called the 3% minimum reserve requirement, the rainy day fund, and the cash reserve funds to ensure that if any surprises come about, they have the money on hand to cover it. But don't worry about Nebraska. Nebraska is good to go. But comment down below. Tell me what you think. Did you watch one of these fake news medias about Nebraska? Let me know. Share it out. And don't let the dementia set in. Hit that follow, subscribe button. That'll let you know when I drop my next video. See you soon.
So it appears as though Nebraska is about to go through some things. They're about to have their find out moment, if you will. In 2024, the state of Nebraska overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump. Knowing he was going to put tariffs on everything, knowing what a malignant shit show his first presidency was, and they overwhelmingly voted for him anyway. Party over country, I guess, right? So what Nebraska is about to find out is that in possibly 2 more quarters or 6 months, the entire state of Nebraska is going to have to file for bankruptcy. They're broke. Why? Because in 2024, the state of Nebraska overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump. What they voted for, they were so hyped up to get rid of illegal criminals. That's what they thought they were voting for. What they actually voted for is eliminating their entire workforce. The entire state's farm labor workforce is basically vanished. Rightfully so. I wouldn't want to be there either. And then you get this pretty MAGA lady all over all these apps and all of the internet crying about how Nebraska's going to go broke and how they're going to lose their farms. You knew that. We told you. But you voted for hate. You voted for an ignorant, malignant, narcissist, rapist, felon. Because he was going to get rid of all the bad people. He is the bad people, you idiots. Now, there are a lot of blue-blooded people who are sadly stuck in these situations in red states right now. This video is not for you. I have all the love for you. You didn't do this to yourselves. What are you going to do now? What is going to happen next? If Nebraska is the first state to fall, and if and when Daddy doesn't send help, what are y'all going to do? Your generational farms, your generational wealth, gone. Because of your hate and a dipshit. I have no sympathy for you. We were screaming from the mountaintops. From the tops of the buildings, the tallest skyscrapers. We were screaming at you. We were trying to plead with you. Listen, for those of you who claim to do your own research, you might actually want to do some. Anyhow. Fuck around. Find out. Nebraska's first.
Oh boy, let's talk about how Trump is screwing the farmers. I have a lot of soybean farmers who are my clients, and this is really bad news. Caleb Ragland, who's the president of the American Soybean Association, he said farmers are heading into a harvest season without a single order from China. 25% of soybean farmers' crops are usually sold to China. The prices of soybeans are down 40% because of what's happening under the Trump administration, and production costs are rising. I'm tying in the Trump administration to this. This Soybean Association president is still speaking up Donald Trump. 500,000 soybean growers in the United States exist and are being severely impacted by this. They're having to now rely on loans to get them through the season. There are 231,000 jobs associated with soybean farming, harvesting, transportation, storage, you name it. And he says the impact on the local rural community that depends on the farmer is going to be severely impacted. South American farmers, soybean farmers, are filling the gap. China is just hop skipping over the United States, and countries like Brazil have got it completely covered. No wonder Trump is attacking some of these other countries south of us. But then he went on to reiterate that Donald Trump loves farmers and that he supports Trump. And he says that the Trump administration told him to tell the farmers to be patient. I just want to explain what the soybean farmers are looking at. Harvest season is right around the corner. Imagine that there's a machine manufacturer that is on the brink of bankruptcy, and they've got a whopping $50,000 in the bank. And they've got to make a decision. Do we keep hiring people to build this one machine in hopes that we can sell it and make that money back? Do we drain that $50,000 and go into debt, hiring employees, purchasing materials to make it happen, run our facility to make that machine, pay for transportation costs to ship it out, in the hopes that we'll have a customer for it? That's what they're facing. They've got to hire H-2A workers, those nasty brown-skinned people, and I'm being very sarcastic. That's how MAGA looks at them. There's truck drivers that haul the soy. There's storage facilities with silos that store them. The farmer pays to have them stored. They're going to tell them we have no room because we're storing 10,000 other farmers' soy products that are not being sold anywhere. Like, this is so fucking devastating. And when I saw that farmer in, I believe, Arkansas, crying, this is a grown-ass man with gray hair. Donald Trump, we love you. We need your help. This is what MAGA doesn't get. Don't leave a seat at the table expecting Donald Trump to come sit down and talk to farmers. He will only sit at the tables that have billionaires and Project 2025 folks. He's only focused on their agenda. And the Project 2025 agenda includes changing the American farming industry that's going to fucking screw every American farmer. He's not going to come and have a seat at your table. Just be patient.
So the Nebraska rancher thing is bullshit by all accounts that I can find. That's not something that's going to happen, that there's going to be no way to verify it within a couple hours of looking. Really within a couple minutes of looking, you guys. That's the sort of thing that there will be a source for. Someone will be reporting on it. They have journalists in Nebraska. And it really frustrates me. I'm going to explain why, so I hope you'll stick with me, because it implicates a lot of issues, and I think it's important for us to understand why, from my perspective. I don't have all the answers, but this is what I think. So one, let's start with the basics here. The situation that we are in this country is due in large part to a massive misinformation ecosystem in which we all live, okay? So voting for Donald Trump is one transgression that a person can make that contributes to the awful ecosystem and the awful reality that we are all inhabiting. It is not the only shitty thing that you can do to hurt this country and to hurt your fellow American. There's a lot of things that you can do to make this situation bad. It doesn't just begin and end with voting for Donald Trump. And so spreading misinformation is one of those things. It is one of the most fatal flaws in our media environment right now. And if we are supposed to be the people for whom facts matter, and who believe in science, and who believe in data, and who believe in truth, right? Then we need to hold ourselves to that. And it doesn't take much to go and look, you guys. It doesn't take much to verify something. So that's one. Spreading misinformation, very bad. I guess two. This specific story, the reason why it agitates me is because American farmers are struggling, and Nebraskan farmers certainly as well, and ranchers, people in the American agricultural system are struggling, and are at like a precipice where terrible things are going to happen to them. And Trump is going to absolutely cause a bunch of those things to get much worse, but they were already bad and very bad. And it is due to both the Republicans and the Democrats. And this idea and this narrative that this whole Nebraska thing kind of reinforces is that everything bad that happens is Donald Trump's fault. It's not. Or that it began with Donald Trump. It didn't. We need to be very clear-eyed if we are going to be talking to people about how this country gets better and why we're in the situation we are in. And if you are going to take the time to address farmers and ranchers and agricultural workers in this country, and you're going to browbeat them about the way that they voted, and give off this impression that like, oh, if you had just voted for Kamala Harris, you wouldn't be in this situation. You guys, I've got bad news for you. Farmers were not going to be in a good situation because of Kamala Harris. She was not going to save farmers from the myriad headwinds that are against them and that are causing family farms and small farms to close all across this country. Bankruptcies skyrocketed last year after years of actually trending a little bit downward. Farms in this country. In 2024, well, Biden was still president. But big corporate agriculture is something that is an industry that puts a ton of money into the pockets of Democrats and Republicans. Okay, that is a bipartisan fuck up. And so to sit there and browbeat people about how they voted, when if they voted for Kamala Harris, they would be in a pretty terrible situation too. Need to be clear-eyed and need to be respectful of the fact that people are up against a lot of issues, and a lot of issues that have been caused by both the Republicans and the Democrats. So this whole narrative bothers me so much because there's just this thirst I find among liberals and Democrats to not acknowledge the things that they've done wrong to lose voters to Donald Trump. Donald Trump should not have won. It should not have been possible for Donald Trump to win. There is a party in this country that made it possible for Donald Trump to win, and that's the Democrats, okay? And we need to look that square in the face, okay? If the Democrats had not been proposing the policies that they've been proposing, or, mind you, had proposed any policies that would benefit Americans to begin with, because I'd like you to ask yourself the question, we all have seen what Donald Trump has done in the last 2 months. If everything was switched and the Democrats held the House and the Senate and the White House, what would have been their big signature policy? What would they have done? What would they have done on day one? What would the executive orders have been that Kamala Harris would have signed? What would be the big, massive structural changes that the Democrats would have done to help us? I've been alive long enough to know that the answer to that question is I don't know. And probably nothing. Okay? I saw what happened with the Affordable Care Act. Okay? I saw the Democrats not even push a public option and sell the American people on a fucking bill that forced us all to buy private health insurance or get taxed for it. All right? That was the best they could come up with, and they had a trifecta. All right? So don't stop saying that all that people needed to do was vote for Kamala Harris. All right? I voted for Kamala Harris. So I don't want to hear that from you people either. Get fucking real. And I guess the last thing about this that drives me nuts is this rah team idea, right? The Democrats are not our team, okay? They are not. And this mentality that so many people are getting into, where they just hate people who voted for Donald Trump so badly that they want to see them hurt, it's the same mentality that led those people to vote for Donald Trump. This hyper-partisanship is going to be what breaks us. And it was what has already broken this country. And it's why, and this is very important, this is why the Democrats are failing us right now. The constitutional crisis that we have right now is not necessarily what Donald Trump is doing. I know that might sound shocking. It's not what Donald Trump is doing. It's the fact that Congress is not stopping him from doing what he's doing. Okay? Because every executive order he's signed, every fucking department that he's closed without actually closing it, all the stuff Donald Trump is doing, those are all functions that Congress has the right to do, and that Congress has not done, and that Congress could stop Donald Trump from doing. But Congress hasn't done it because Congress is run by the Republicans. And that is the problem. The problem is that we have national political parties that unify issues across geographies and wield incredible power and are nowhere in the Constitution. Our founders did not want us to have political parties, and they were more concerned about large population states versus small population states. That's why we have a Senate, and that's why we have an electoral college. They were wrong about that, though. Never once in the history of this country have large population states and small population states banded on opposite sides of an issue. And what they failed to account for was the fact that we would have large-scale national political parties like we do. So, the issue that we are facing right now is that the Republican Party and the Democratic Party exist throughout all levels of government, and they unify action across those levels of government, and they wield power and they use mechanisms within our government that were not meant to be used by unified political parties. And so the fact that Donald Trump is able to get away with everything he's able to get away with is because he is enabled by the Republican Party. And in order to break that, we have to break the political parties. And the Democrats will never do that. And that is why they are sitting idly by and letting Donald Trump do whatever he wants. Because their thought is, well, there's only two political parties. So if Donald Trump fucks this country up, all we have to do is sit here and just wait, and then we'll get into power. And every time that you do a FAFO fucking video, you are enabling that behavior. We can stand firm on our morals and our beliefs and our philosophies and our values, but we need to stop standing firm on the Democrats. That is insane. And stop shitting on people just because they voted for fucking Donald Trump. It doesn't fucking matter. At this point, it's done. The milk is spilt. Tariffs and this fucking bird flu. It was very expensive milk that was spilled. I get it. We're upset. But we got to stop, you guys. Because the voting for Donald Trump, like I said, was one very bad action that somebody has taken. But it's not the only bad action that somebody can take. And we need to be very clear-eyed about the bad actions that we are participating in, because they can definitely add up to being just as bad as voting for Donald Trump. And so when we spread lies and when we spread division and when we hate on people who are hurting, we are no better than Trump supporters, and we gotta fucking stop doing it.
خبر من ولاية نبراسكا عم بيقولوا إنه الولاية رح تنهار اقتصادياً ورح يعلنوا إفلاسهم بعد 2 quarters، يعني 3 شهور و3 شهور، هدول ربعين، يعني 6 شهور. في وحدة هون رح أحط لكم الرابط لفيديو تبعها، هي وجوزها عندهم مزرعة كبيرة وعم تعترف إنه هي وجوزها الظاهر صوتوا لترامب ضد مصالحهم هن. كمان بتعترف إنه هن عرفوا إنه ترامب كان عم يهدد بالترحيل الجماعي للناس الغير موثقين. ومثل ما بتعرفوا هون معظم مزارع أمريكا بكاليفورنيا وبنبراسكا وبغيرها وبغيراتها على الأقل 70% من العمال هن الناس undocumented، لأنه ما في حدا معه أوراق ووضعه جيد هون بأمريكا مستعد يشتغل 12 ل 14 ساعة بالشموس وبالبرد ومن الصبح بكير وهن وعائلاتهم ومتنقلين من مكان لمكان، غير الناس اللي ما معهم أوراق خطي. هي عم بتقول إنه العمال ما عم يجوا على شغلهم، أكيد ما رح يجوا على شغلهم لأنه عم يخوفوهم بالترحيل. بدهم يجوا على شغلهم، بدهم يجوا ياخدوهم يرحلوهم على بلادهم. هلأ هن قاعدين وساكتين، والحقول عم بتموت، والمزارعين هلأ بلشوا يشكوا ويبكوا. بقى شو بدي أقولكن؟ انتوا هيك صوتوا وانتوا هيك رح تحصدوا.
Thank you for watching Great Minds Blacks.